what you cooking?
Hey guys, Jack Swiss here. And today's video is from a viewer's request on a video that I did on transmissions a while back, which I'll link in the description. But this video is going to be focusing on manual with clutch in particular, how to use it, how to drift with it, and addressing any questions anyone may have about it. But before I begin, here's a brief rundown of what it actually is if you don't know already or are new to cars in general. The manual with clutch transmission option is basically the same as the manual option in the aspect that you have to switch gears manually, but it's different because of the fact that you also have to utilize the clutch pedal, which is the left bumper for me, but it might be different for you depending on your controller setup. And in this video, I'll be telling you everything you need to know about utilizing it in general, and while drifting. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Firstly though, here's the car I'll be using to demonstrate. It's a 2003 Nissan 350Z with a fully upgraded engine and turbo insert, putting out 729 horsepower, which isn't a massive amount but is great for learning the ropes of drifting and shifting with the clutch pedal. If you want to follow along with this exact car, put in the tune code, which is on screen now, and download the tune. But if you want to use a different car, that's fine too, as I'll be going over the basic functions of the clutch while drifting, which is useful in every car. So with that said, let's move on to the tutorial. So when drifting, there's four main uses for the clutch pedal: when you're shifting up and down, when you want to initiate a drift, when your RPM is too low to sustain a drift, and when you want to use your handbrake. And I know that might sound complicated, especially if you're new to drifting, but let me take the time to explain each one. The first use I listed is when you're shifting up and down, and this is something that you'll even have to do outside of drifting. Just hold down the clutch, shift up or down, and disengage the clutch. And this is important even in Forza, because although you won't do any actual damage to the car if you shift improperly, you'll be losing tons of momentum if you don't use the clutch. So just remember to hold it down while shifting and you'll be fine. The second use I have listed is to initiate a drift, and this one is pretty straightforward. Just hold down or tap the clutch if you want to initiate a drift and your car will follow. And although this isn't the only way to initiate a drift, it's definitely still useful, as you have one more way to get sideways compared to using just manual. The third use I listed was when your RPMs are low, and this one is pretty straightforward as well. However, since you're using manual with clutch, you'll find yourself having to do this more often if you are used to shifting with manual. But all you have to do for this one is tap the clutch when your RPMs are getting noticeably low, like so, and you'll be good to go. If you don't do this, however, you run the risk of stalling out if your RPMs are too low, or completely losing momentum. So be sure to utilize the clutch when that happens. And finally, I have that you have to use the clutch while handbraking. And this might be a bit challenging at first if you're used to using manual without clutch, but you'll probably notice that the handbrake is way more effective if you do use this technique. So to use the handbrake, just make sure to press down the clutch, and then initiate the handbrake to avoid stalling your car out, and disengage the clutch when you let off the handbrake. And again, if you don't use the clutch with the handbrake, you'll stall out and lose all your momentum. So be sure to follow this step. And once you have all of that down, you'll be able to drift with clutch, and over time, it'll become second nature. But the key thing is to continue to practice with it until that happens, and to not turn it off no matter how frustrated you may get, or challenging it may be. So if you have any additional questions, be sure to leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. But for now, let's move on to the conclusion. Did you enjoy the video? If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing. It really helps out my channel, and I'd really appreciate if you did. If you didn't like the video, please leave a comment below telling me what I could have did better. And if you have a video suggestion, leave it in the comments, and I'll do my best to get it out. But anyway, I'm Jack Swiss, and thanks for watching.